When Anthony Joshua walked into Chris Eubank Jr.'s camp, something changed. You could feel the shift, the air got heavier, the mood got sharper, and suddenly, every move Eubank made carried new meaning. This wasn't just another sparring session. This was the rebirth of a fighter. Eubank had been through wars before, but this felt different. He wasn't just preparing for another bout, he was rewriting the story of his career. And the presence of a two-time world champion like Joshua turned every punch into a lesson, every round into a test of purpose. Joshua watched him work on the pads, analyzing every slip, every jab, every hesitation. He didn't have to say much, his presence was enough. Eubank could feel the standard being raised. For once, it wasn't about raw power or showmanship. It was about control, mastering the rhythm, refining the edges, and finding a calm inside the chaos. That's what Joshua brought into that gym, a reminder that greatness isn't loud. It's disciplined, precise, ruthless in silence. And Eubank absorbed every bit of it. You could see it in his footwork, in the way he threw combinations with intent instead of anger. The energy was different now, focused, deliberate, dangerous. Because behind that focus was a fire that had been lit by pain. He still remembered the sting of that loss, the disappointment that echoed louder than any punch he'd ever taken. The critics were merciless. The headlines wrote him off. Some said he was finished. Others claimed he'd never had the skill, only the name. But those voices didn't break him. They built him. When you've been knocked down in front of the world, and you still stand back up, that's not ego. That's obsession. Eubank wasn't chasing revenge. He was chasing rebirth. Every morning he woke up with that same thought, prove them wrong. Prove yourself right. And that's exactly what drove him into the fire. Because when everything falls apart, you either crumble, or you rebuild stronger. And that's when he brought in a new mind, a new voice, someone who could turn that chaos into precision. Enter BoMac MC Entire. The man who helped shape Terence Crawford into one of the most complete fighters in the world now stood in Eubank's corner. And that changed everything. BoMac's approach was simple: discipline, repetition, and strategy. No wasted movement, no emotion, just execution. Under BoMac, Eubank learned to think differently. The fighter who once relied on instincts began to rely on intelligence. He learned how to control distance, how to dictate rhythm, how to frustrate an opponent instead of feeding his aggression. He wasn't fighting with pride anymore, he was fighting with purpose. In every session, BoMac pushed him to the edge. No comfort zones, no shortcuts. If Eubank wanted to rise again, he had to suffer for it. And that's exactly what he did. Days bled into nights inside that gym, no cameras, no noise, just the sound of leather against pads and heavy breathing echoing through the walls. You could tell he was obsessed. Every round looked like a war between the man he used to be and the man he was trying to become. And while Eubank was reinventing himself in silence, on the other side, Connor Ben was stewing in noise. Ben wasn't just training, he was angry. Angry at the world, angry at the critics, and especially angry at Eubank. Their rivalry wasn't born out of competition, it was born out of bloodlines and ego. The sons of two legends, carrying the ghosts of their fathers into every stare down. For Ben, this fight wasn't business. It was personal. He'd been waiting for the rematch, talking about it, dreaming about it, living for it. And he made one thing clear: if security hadn't stepped in that day, he would have gone for Eubank right then and there. That's not hype. That's genuine rage. But here's the thing, emotion can fuel you, or it can burn you alive. And that's the difference between them. Eubank fights with control. Ben fights with chaos. One calculates, the other reacts. And in boxing, the one who controls the tempo usually controls the fight. Still, Ben is dangerous. You can't teach hunger, and he's starving for redemption. He wants to prove that he's not just a name living in someone else's shadow. That's why every word out of his mouth drips with defiance. Every time he speaks, you can feel that need to destroy, to silence, to shock. But as Duke MC Kenzie pointed out, Ben's aggression has its flaws. He throws punches without precision, sometimes without even looking. His raw power is real, but against someone like Eubank, that's a gamble. He's not his father, and he can't rely on rage alone. Meanwhile, Eubank's confidence is quietly growing. Derek Chisora says it best: when Chris lets his hands go, he's unstoppable. It's not just one or two punches, it's 6, 7, 8, all landing with purpose. That kind of precision doesn't come from anger, it comes from mastery. Eddie Hearn sees it too. He admits that Eubank bringing in BoMac shows how serious he is this time. He knows if he hasn't improved, he loses. Simple as that. That's what makes this version of Eubank so dangerous. He's aware of the stakes. He's not taking chances. Every move he makes now has meaning. Every round in camp is a statement. And yet, some experts aren't convinced. Dave Coldwell, a man who knows the grind of the sport better than most, questions whether Eubank can push that same intensity again. He says repeating a performance like the first fight is almost impossible. The human body and mind have limits. But Coldwell also admits something else. If anyone can adapt under pressure, it's Eubank. He's been here before. He knows how to fight tired, how to think hurt, how to survive chaos. Carl Froch takes it further. He believes this rematch is closer than most people think, that Ben has learned, calmed his head movement, fixed his energy management. But he also admits that Eubank has matured. He's learning from his mistakes. He's smarter now, more composed. And that's where the real battle lies, in the mind. Because this isn't just about throwing punches. It's about who can outthink, outlast, and outmaneuver the other when fatigue sets in. Boxing is 80% mental, 20% physical, and both men know it. Adol Ladipo summed it up perfectly. He said the bigger man won last time, and that matters. Eubank has already felt Ben's power, and he knows what's coming. That familiarity breeds confidence. Ben might come in swinging harder, faster, angrier, but Eubank knows what to expect. He's tasted that storm before. That makes him more dangerous, not less. Adam Smith sees something bigger. He believes this fight could completely reset Eubank's career. If he wins, Smith says, he gets a new lease on life. 2026 could be the year he finally becomes a world champion. But it's not just about the belt. It's about the narrative, the comeback, the evolution, the redemption arc that boxing fans live for. Because when a fighter like Eubank, who's been mocked, doubted, and dismissed, steps back into the spotlight and proves he's still got it, that's not just a win. That's a statement. And make no mistake, Conor Ben knows it too. He knows that a loss here doesn't just hurt his record, it wounds his pride. He's stepping into this fight carrying not just his father's name, but the expectations of a legacy. It's personal, historical, and psychological all at once. But George Groves, who knows Eubank better than almost anyone, offers a chilling perspective. He says, it's hard to imagine Conor Ben beating Chris Eubank Jr. because of what Eubank's already achieved. He's climbed his Everest. That line hits differently when you think about it. Eubank has fought in front of sold-out stadiums, under lights bright enough to blind most fighters. He's faced legends, taken hits that would drop others, and still stood tall. He's been to the mountaintop, and when you've been there, when you felt that kind of pressure and survived it, fear disappears. That's the edge experience gives you, composure under chaos. Groves reminds us that this fight isn't just physical, it's spiritual. Ben is chasing validation. Eubank is defending legacy. Two completely different energies colliding in one ring. The question is, whose hunger wins? Eubank's quiet determination or Ben's explosive emotion? The closer fight night gets, the more electric it feels. You can sense it online, in gyms, in every boxing discussion, everyone's picking sides. Some say Ben's youth will overpower Eubank's experience. Others believe Eubank's precision will slice through Ben's aggression. But when that bell rings, none of that matters. No interviews, no predictions, no excuses, just two men, one moment, and everything on the line. Eubank has rebuilt himself from the ground up. He's trained with world champions, learned from the best, and refined every flaw. He's turned humiliation into hunger. Ben, on the other hand, is walking in with pure conviction, the belief that destiny owes him a win. He's confident, emotional, and unpredictable, the kind of fighter who can change everything with one wild exchange. And that's what makes this rematch so dangerous. Because it's not just about who hits harder, it's about who breaks first. The mental battle will be brutal. Eubank will try to slow the pace, frustrate Ben, make him swing and miss. Ben will try to push chaos, turn it into a war, and force Eubank into mistakes. One will play chess. The other will try to flip the board. Every second will matter. Every jab will carry meaning. Every mistake could end the night. If Eubank wins, it's redemption, proof that evolution beats emotion. It puts him right back on the path to a world title, silencing the critics and defining his career with maturity and mastery. If Ben wins, it's a changing of the guard, a torch passed from one generation to the next. It would rewrite expectations and launch him into superstardom overnight. That's why this fight is more than a rematch. It's a reckoning. For years, both men have lived in the shadows of their fathers. But this is their moment to step out, to carve their own legacy. Two names, one history, one destiny. And when that first bell rings, all the talk, all the training, all the noise fades away. Only truth remains, because in the ring, there's nowhere to hide. It's not about fame, money, or headlines. It's about who you are when everything's on the line. And on that night, when the lights hit the canvas and the crowd roars, we'll find out which man walks away reborn and which one gets left behind. So tell me, who are you backing? The man rebuilt by discipline or the fighter driven by rage? Chris Eubank Jr. or Conor Benn? The stage is set, the world is watching, and history is waiting to be rewritten.